But I would think that there are two or three things that stand out immediately. Was his love for God, which he was able to translate into a love for people. There's a delightful little story told about him arriving in the parish of Ars, and he meets a 14-year-old boy on the street, and he's walking, and he says, "Show me the way to Ars." And the boy explains, the different roads and turnings, and then the curé says to him, "And are you from Ars?" He says, "I am." "Well, you've shown me now the way to Ars. I will show you the way to heaven." He was very convinced of great truths, the truths of his own mission, of his own task, what he was as a priest. So that enabled him to set about the task of bringing the gospel alive. And Ars itself was a really run-down place. The bishop said to him when sending him there, "I'm sending you to Ars, you'll find very little love of God there, but do your best." It wasn't very encouraging to him. And he really did his best, all right, with a great conviction, of the Lord's love for those people, and that he's made himself the agent of that love for them. So he was great for visiting them. He prepared his homilies very well. He went to their houses. They realized that he meant business in a very good sense. He saw their needs and their difficulties. He was very convinced of his message. He prepared his homilies very well. Famously, he found theology very difficult in the seminary and only barely got through. But there's a one delightful story about him, that when people started coming to confession and big conversions started to occur, that some of the other priests felt maybe he didn't quite meet the mark in moral theology to be able to hear confessions. He could be sending immortal souls the wrong direction. So a few of them got a letter going requesting the bishop to remove his faculties on the grounds that he wasn't theologically competent. It happened that he didn't call into one of those priest houses one day about 11 o'clock, and he saw this letter of request to the bishop on the table, and he added his own name to it. Now, this was allowed in the process of investigation after his death as a sign of his heroic holiness. The holiness of a humour, of humility, which emerged to be also a kind of a humour. He agreed, I shouldn't be hardly hearing confessions. So he was a man of no self-importance whatsoever, but he was absolutely convinced of the importance of the message he had, that there's a word of life, of truth. He was absolutely convinced of the importance of the sacraments he celebrated, especially the power of the Eucharist and the grace of the Eucharist. And he was absolutely convinced that he was sent as the servant of Christ to be the servant of these people. And so he had that mentality.